This is Nicole Whitney, News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained.
News for the Soul is now in its 25th year of broadcasting. Tune in live or visit the archives at newsforthesoul.com. That's newsforthesoul.com.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show. Next up on News for the Soul, it's time for one of the newer shows, Awakening Divine Connections, with David and Deborah Shay. Let's bring them on to reintroduce themselves, their show, and what's up for today. Welcome back, guys.
Hi, this is David.
And this is Deborah.
We're so glad you are here. Today's program is titled Life Event Driven Divine Guidance. And the quote from that is, "Our higher guidance team will do their best to steer us onto our higher life path, regardless of whether we can hear them." And today's program is really how to figure out our divine guidance when it is blocked or inhibited by outer noise of life events, like what is happening nowadays in our world. As always, before we begin, we're going to do our announcements so we can get them out of the way up front. And we only have a couple of them. We have a Zoom Shay's Spiritual Insights, and I typically do this the first Friday of every month. It's a question and answer session. Normally it would be, the first Friday of August, but we're going to do it August 12th because we have a seminar the weekend before. It starts at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and it's a real opportunity for all of our spiritual family to get together, and we can talk about what's happening in our lives. You can ask me questions. You can ask the group questions. It's a real opportunity to share time with spiritually minded people. Again, if you want to sign up for this, you can go up to our website at Shay's Holistics and sign up, or you can just go get the link right off the front page. And we also have a Zoom sound shower coming up on Wednesday, August 10th, from 7 to 9. Of course, that's Mountain Time, adjusted for your time zone. And Deborah's going to do a wonderful sound shower. They're real popular. And, of course, afterwards, the sound shower, I think, is available for a little while afterwards. Correct, Deborah?
Yeah, it'll be posted on our YouTube channel, and it'll be out there for a long time. So
it's a real opportunity to be part of it. And then, of course, once you've gone through it, then you come back again, and it's just a real wonderful experience to re-experience the sound shower yet again. As always, if you want to know more about what's going on, you can go out to shaysholistics.com. We have a lot of stuff on our front page. You can go to Spiritual Services tab, and you can go there, and I think our Events tab as well, correct? Yeah, so that's what we have for announcements. So with that, before we begin, and what we always like to do in these kinds of settings is take a moment to set our intentions for what we would like to receive during this program, during this presentation. So if you just find yourself a comfortable position, close your eyes, take in a deep breath and hold it. Let it out with a sigh. Feel the relaxation permeating your body. Again, take in another deep breath and hold it. Then let it out with a sigh. Feel the calmness saturating your body, moving all around in your environment. And then one more time, take in a deep breath and hold it. Then let it out with a sigh. Go ahead and set your intentions for what you would like to receive. Just open yourself up. You don't even have to use words. You can use words if you like. But just know and feel what you would like to receive, and then release it to the universe. Release it to your higher guidance so that it may come back to you. And we'll have a few moments of silence here to give you a chance to do that. All right. When you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes and bring yourself back to this place. Okay, now today's program, as we talked about, is Life Event-Driven Divine Guidance. And it has to do with what's happening when the world gets really, really hectic, is it can get really noisy out there. Even for people who meditate regularly, have been doing it for years, can find themselves not as centered, not hearing things as well as they used to, and they wonder, okay, well, how do we get our divine guidance? Well, there's another way, and we talked about this back in May as well, but we're going to start out just with the thought, wouldn't now be a good time to get some helpful divine guidance from our higher guidance team? Wouldn't that be great? Now think about it. It's there, but it can really be hard to hear when it's drowned out by the din and the clamor of our times. Because of the din and clamor, we took a different approach to this program to talk about how to figure out what it is that's happening. What is the guidance? And there's ways of doing it. And once you learn this, it's very helpful to be able to figure things out. Now first, let's take a frank look at what's going on in the world from the perspective of a lot of people's daily experience, our daily experience. For many of us, the economic uncertainty, escalating prices for basic necessities, and just the unavailability of commonly used merchandise can make today's fast-paced family life even more intense. I'm sure lots of us are experiencing that. What used to be simple and easy is now a little bit tougher than it was. Now, in addition, many of our leaders, and I mean all of them, are busy pointing fingers at each other rather than solving the most basic problems we face. They're more than willing to go on the radio or TV and talk about things, but their job is to fix things. In fact, by their inaction, and oftentimes they join into the thing, the verbal goading, they inject discord into society rather than trying to cooperatively solve problems that are clearly within their authority to fix. That's why we hired them, is to fix these things, and so they're letting this all go on. And it could be that these are not simple problems to solve. But at the very least, we would like to see a little bit more. And the reason I mention this, though, is that all of this verbal goading and this going back and forth, this has the effect of keeping everyone in society at odds with each other. And rather than encouraging society to take a loving, helpful actions to lighten each other's load, people, kind of nitpick at each other, which is not what we would want to do. Now, I'm not saying everyone's doing this, but you can watch the evening news and you can see the kind of acting out that's going on because people are frustrated. And it kind of reminds me of that. I'm going to call this it's an old saying. It's an old Irish wonderful saying. Is this a private fight, or can anyone join in? And it really is characterization of what happens is when people are feeling uneasy and agitated and polarized, they start nitpicking each other, and they kind of join in the fight, even if it's not something that has to do with them. And we talked about that a little bit, I think, during our May program, and I think it's also on one of our articles out on Shays Holistics. Because when this kind of thing happens in society, even for those on the spiritual path and who really focus on that, it's easy to get caught up in the social drama. It just is. It's as if it were our own, by making it our own. And that's, again, going back to our May program, that's what the turning down the volume in our life was about on our News for the Soul presentation in May, and you can go back into the archives and get it. Is to say that a lot of the stuff happening in society, we get caught up in it, and the reality is it has little to do with anything in our life, yet it affects our life because it's being radiated through Facebook or the radio or the news or however we get it. And what's important to do, if we can, is learn how to focus on the things in our life that are pertinent to us, that really have to do with our higher guidance, what's coming in for us, and ignore the things that don't really have anything to do with us. And again, that has to do with turning down the volume. Now, once the noise starts to lessen, it becomes a little easier to hear and receive the spiritual guidance that we seek. However, because of the stress level created by the remaining noise, what's happening now, what's happening in the world and in our economy, it can be difficult for many to hear their guidance when it was readily available before. So why is that? First, and this is really important for people to know, we talk about the divine, which is our shorthand for any aspect of the God, our higher guidance guides, the angels, and so forth. All of them know us exceptionally well. They're sitting behind the scenes. They know what things will push our buttons. They know what kinds of things are going to be helpful and that we'll hear them. And they try their best behind the scenes to steer us toward hearing those things that are part of the message. Maybe it'll be they try to have us pay attention to an ad. We happen to be available and listening to the television at the perfect moment when the words that are coming through an ad are the ones that are for us. Or we see a sign on a road. All of a sudden, at that moment, that's the sign, and we're thinking about things, and all of a sudden, that's the answer. And they know that, and they try their very best. And they do a pretty good job, but when the noise is out there, it can be a little tougher to hear it. Excuse me. Pardon me. So, again, when we are in touch and can hear the guidance, we spiritual seekers will do our very best to actively participate in maximizing our spiritual growth and minimizing unwanted life path choices. We all do that, and I think we all try to do it, and again, those who are on the committed spiritual path, even more so. However, when we're unable to adequately hear our guidance from the divine, for whatever reason, like the noise, we may find ourselves being annoyingly resistant to life path changes that are for our highest good. And what do I mean by that? Is that when we're busy and we don't feel like we're hearing the message, the next thing you know, maybe our guides have actually put us in a position to doing something, like we're on track for this new project or this new job or the life move, but because we're uncertain of everything, we just say no to everything. And so we find ourselves being resistant to things that we would normally be open to and not unknowingly doing so. So what can we do about that? So if we're unable to hear and receive our higher guidance in the normal way, how else can we discern and discover what that guidance is? And I found this out a long time ago. Actually, my guide, his name was William at the time. He's moved on to do other things. He was the most Earth-like guide I've ever known. It's like he was a human being without a body. He understood what it was like still being on Earth. He understood what the stresses are of being in the body again and having the veil drawn. So he could always give it good advice. And he said, look at what's happening in your life. So that's what we're going to talk about here in some detail. Since the events of our life path are going to unfold naturally regardless of whether we know what it is, we can look at the characteristics of the events in our life and become aware of the spiritual guidance and gain insights. Translated, we can look at what's happening in our lives, figure out what the characteristics of those are, what they have to do with us, and then we can start saying, oh, if this is happening, that probably means I should be doing this, or maybe I should not be doing this. It just depends on what kind of event it was. So, let's talk about some of the things we can look at. Longtime friends start falling away. out of the blue, we've had all these relationships that have been there, and now all of a sudden, out of the blue, they start falling away. So what we should do, if we can, take a moment, some quiet time, and look at the commonality of those who stopped socializing with us, or we with them. We may find ourselves, we used to hang out with Jane or Fred, and now we don't hang out with them. And it's not some conscious decision, it's just something that happened. So we have to go and look at those shared qualities in our newly absent friends and consider that to be kind of a mirror of our inner changes. As they talked about in the Upanishads back in the 9th century BC, everything that we see out there is an outer, I'd say, reflection of the inner changes within us. So in other words, what attributes do we have that were acquired or released to create this falling away of our friends, or we with them? And it's important at this point, don't look at the other person and say, well, it's them. They changed. I'm the same. They're the ones that changed. No, look at us, because that's called projection. What we're doing is just projecting what's actually happening within us to them. So that's one thing. Now, new and different types of people mysteriously start showing up in our lives, and that's kind of a follow-on to the last one. Just as before, look at the shared characteristics of those entering our life, or we in theirs. What's changed? What things have opened up in us or fallen away to cause that to happen? It doesn't have to be really deep things. It can be very simple things, but whatever it is, we need to be able to look at it honestly and openly. They will be an outer indicator of the areas of growth that has already occurred within us. Usually these things that happen in the outer life are lagging indicators. They are things that happen after the fact of the change that's already transpired. That's the beautiful thing about it. Another one that comes up is loss of interest in old activities, and I think all of us have that, and there's a lot of reasons for it. As we grow in the normal unfoldment of our life, our inner being naturally disconnects from old life energies and makes new connections and groundings to those energies that resonate with our new state of being. In other words, things that are no longer part of us fall away, new connections are made, but those things take a while to, I don't know what I want to call it, crystallize within our being. But as they do, the old things fall away. The beauty of this is this is usually a result of long arc life lessons that finally hit a tipping point. In other words, grain by grain we've been changing, and finally the scale has had just enough grains to where it tipped to the other side, and it shows that new areas of interest are just waiting for us to discover them. So the old ones have fallen away, and all of a sudden we've become consciously aware of it. And now, like, well, what do we do? What that is it's your higher guidance. It's the universe trying to steer us in a new direction, and we just have to go out and discover what those things are. And they're waiting for us. They're waiting for you. I'll follow on to the other one is unexplained, unexpected shift in our inner attitude. And I've had this happen, and it happens, again, really a lot for those on the committed spiritual path, because people that are on the spiritual path, they're deliberately open and ready for things to fall away and new things to come in. So things happen oftentimes a little quicker than they do for others who are just on a regular life path. As before, changes in our inner attitude are usually the cumulative result of life learning that appeared to allow us to suddenly change our belief system, when in fact they were part of our long-term learning, possibly spanning lifetimes. I'm seeing a lot of that happen in these accelerated times we're in. As anyone's read any of our posts and articles, I truly believe we are living in a spiritual renaissance right now. The energies are accelerated, the frequencies are higher, and it's allowing for things to happen much more quickly than they would have in decades past. Many, many times faster. Another one, and a lot of people are seeing this, unexpected or unplanned job loss, and I want to focus on the unplanned. Often, the universe unplugs us from our life situation to create circumstances to make us change occupations, living location and arrangements, and our physical and social energetic environment. As an example of this, Edgar Cayce was told to move to Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I think he lived in Ohio at the time. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, he needed to move because he needed to live where the soil and sand had a higher gold content, whose higher frequency was needed for him to do his life work as the sleeping prophet. And for anyone who doesn't know about Edgar Cayce, he was known as the sleeping prophet. People would ask him questions, he would go into a trance, and he would come back with absolutely super detailed, accurate information for what that person needed to do, whether it was medical, life move, career change, whatever it was, that he would bring it forth. On the same lines, an unexpected or unplanned change of vocation, i.e., it just happened. Like, wow, how did this happen? As with many of the things we just talked about, grain by grain, we have grown over time to reach the tipping point to shift our life path. We may have been blind to it, and often we are, because we're so busy just, living our life, dealing with the kids, just getting things done. But while we weren't paying attention, the universe or our guides took care of the needed change. So what we are to do is, when this happens, be not dismayed by it. Say, okay, this is part of my life change. What's opening up? And rather than looking and trying to hold on to what was there, oftentimes we need to just really open up and see what's there waiting for us. Another one is can't find employment during a labor shortage like we're in right now. This is an interesting one. This happens to us when it's time to take a break from society, oftentimes. There can be other reasons too. But it may be time for our focus and energies to look inward. It may be part of a bigger, multi-lifetime shift in our spiritual growth that has reached a culminating point requiring inner reflection. We have seen high-powered executives have been known to become spiritual seekers. They're like Gauguin. They just said they shuck it all and move to Tahiti and start painting. But the point is that this accelerated time we're in, I'm seeing a lot more of that. It happens at any point in our life or lifetimes, but it's really happening a lot to a number of people that it wouldn't have happened to before because of these accelerated times. Another one that's related to this is life situations cause us to move to an unfamiliar location. Again, the universe is creating conditions for an upward shift in our growth. That's why this is happening. Often, we are unknowingly stifled, by the energies, people, and situations of our current living locale, because there's all these energetic connections that our being has at many levels and in many facets, let's just call it that we're unaware of. And these connections, at a certain point in our growth, they keep us in old patterns. A move causes us to energetically disconnect from all of that and allow our being to naturally reconnect to those energies, people, and new situations reflective of our new higher state of being. We've already grown, and now we need to move to have a new set of conditions and location reflect that. And the next one is one that I have found happens to me quite often. Long-standing approaches to things, whatever the things might be, no longer work. As with many of the other items on this list that we've talked about, we have outgrown old attitudes and ways of doing things. The old approaches become shut off by our higher guidance, the universe, and the divine, to force us to find new ones that are just waiting for us to be discovered. And this has been some of the oddest things I've had. Some simple things, very routine things that I do, all of a sudden, I can't do them anymore. Every time I try to do them the old way, it doesn't work. I stumble around. I'm lost. I forget to do a step or two, and I was like, what is going on? Eventually, and I know this, and yet I don't look, and the next thing I know, it's like, oh, yeah, I need to go look at this new way. And then all of a sudden I become aware of it. Oftentimes, Deborah, she is the vehicle of the divine for me. She'll say, hey, why don't you try this? And it's like, oh, gosh, that's what we call in process improvement, we call it a BFO. It's a blinding flash of the obvious. It's like, wow, why didn't I think of that? Well, because she did. And so she's my voice of innovation much of the time. Okay, another one. unexplained sickness. This is one that I think a lot of people really need to have an understanding on. There can be many reasons for this, and I want to emphasize that there are. But long-standing, unresolved negative attitudes and past life baggage may manifest as disease. I don't like the words all or never because they're words of attribution. Things almost always are not always a certain way or never a certain way. But this, I'm going to make this kind of an exception. Without exception, anything from a cold to a rash, everything has to do with energetic conditions of our being. I'm just going to leave it at that. From small things to big things. Anyway, try to find a trusted spiritual source if you're not familiar with it, figuring it out yourself. I mean, sometimes even those of us who do this all the time, all of a sudden we're blind to it because it involves us. So find a trusted spiritual source who can help identify what attitudes and energies that are causing this disease to manifest. Sometimes, and I'm going to say most of the time, discovering the energetic cause can enable the disease to just disappear or bolster any medical treatment that's being received. It can really make things go much better because we're releasing the things that are causing it. On the flip side of the sickness is unexplained healing. Again, there can be many reasons, and I don't want to just say that this is the only reason. It's just this is one thing that has come to our attention. We have personally witnessed people who were instantly healed. I mean, instantly. In one of those cases, the person had learned the life lessons associated with that ailment and were ready to receive healing, but was not consciously aware of their own growth. And that happened in one of our seminars down in Boise, Idaho. We have 3-day seminars. Anyway, on Friday, the healing happened, but the woman who it happened to kept it to herself. She didn't want to tell anybody because she thought, well, what if it shows up again on Saturday? So Saturday was all day. She was fine. And then Sunday, we always have this review, preview, and everyone shares what happened the night before. And she said, listen, let me tell you what happened. And he had this miraculous growth, healing. And all healing comes from the divine. We are merely vehicles of that. But the point being is she was ready to release it, and we talked about it and shared the reasons why. Her higher guidance shared that, and it was really beneficial. So these things can happen and do happen. And then finally, kind of a generic final statement is any long-standing pattern in our life that has changed. Something that's always been a certain way and all of a sudden has changed, that is an outer indicator, can be small or big, of things that have happened in our lives. In our looking to become aware of them, the more we do that and do that introspection and learn how to do it within ourselves, because we all have each a different inner language of inner communication. But when we learn how to do that, our higher guidance takes notice and things get a little better. So again, if anything has changed, look at the theme or the qualities of what has changed to reveal the inner growth shift within us. Once we know, often the solution becomes clearer. And all of these things in this list have to do with shared patterns and traits. By looking at the commonality of the traits of whatever has changed in our life, it can reveal to us the area of our life that is evolving upward, and it is evolving upward. It points to the theme of our divine guidance. It kind of says, do more of this, or in some cases, if it's a negative thing, it's do less of it. Let go of that attitude. Once we know what that is, the next steps often become more obvious. And as a final comment, before I hand it over to Deborah, who has a special surprise for you, once our higher guidance knows that we are actively aware of the life lessons and situation, that we're looking at them, the circumstances of our life tend to naturally smooth out over a relatively short period of time. And I say relatively because some people say, well, it's been 3 days. Where's the change? Well, sometimes it can take a few weeks, maybe a month or two or a few months. But as we do this, we can look back and say, wow, things are better. And with that, thank you for your time. And I'm going to pass it off to Deborah here, who has a real special time for you.
Thank you, David. Again, this is Deborah, and we've decided that we're going to do a meditation. It's a guided meditation. Yeah. And I'll be playing the Tibetan bowls with the meditation. And this meditation will help us to connect with all of these life events that have happened to us so that we have a chance to open ourselves up and be able to reflect from our higher self of what's happening in our life. So we'll take it's about a 20-minute meditation, and I'll be guiding you through looking at all of these different events in your life to give you insights as to what's happening in your life and be able to get that guidance that you're seeking. So, Nicole, if you would go ahead and start the meditation, and we'll all go inward.
With your eyes closed, inhale deeply and hold your breath. And then exhale with a sigh. Again, inhale deeply and hold your breath. And then exhale with a sigh. Once more, inhale deeply and hold your breath. Then exhale with a sigh. Relax your body. Feel a wonderful wave of relaxation start at your scalp and move slowly down over your entire body as you release all tension, all pressure. You become aware of the joy, peace, and calm that completely surrounds you. Take a few moments to review the events of your life. Are there longtime friends that are no longer in your life? Or are there new people and relationships appearing in your life? Have you lost interest in old activities? Are you experiencing an unexplained or unexpected shift in your inner attitude? Has there been an unexpected or unexplained job loss, change of vocation, or unable to find employment? Have you been prompted to move to a new location? Are you experiencing health challenges or an unexplained healing? Have the familiar rhythms of your life changed? Are old ways of doing things no longer working? Has there been any other event in your life? Now take some time to become aware of the divine guidance and insights that you have received as a result of reviewing these life events. Now thank the Divine for all of the guidance and insights you have received. And when you are ready, project yourself back to the outer world, feeling free and released, aligned, centered and grounded, and connected and resonating with the blessings of the Divine in your life. You are aware of the guidance and wisdom in your life. You are filled with a sense of peace, love, joy, and harmony. Return gently to the outer world.
All right, welcome back from the meditation. And we've just spent a few moments connecting with all of our life path events. And remember that since the events of our life path or life plan are going to unfold naturally, regardless of whether we know what it is, we can look at the characteristics of the events in our life and become aware of our spiritual guidance and gain insights. So you can do this anytime when you're feeling lost, feel like you're not having the guidance that you're seeking. You can go within, like we did today, and just connect with and review all of the events in your life, and then wait for that guidance to come in, those insights. Oh, that's what that's about. And then you'll be able to know that you're being guided and get the answers that you're seeking. So we thank you so much for being with us today, and we hope that this has helped you. And one of the things we wanted to talk about real quickly is on our website we have a few more information. You can go to Shays Holistics at SHAYHOLISTICS.com, and we have many more meditations out there and sound showers to help you on your spiritual journey. So a preview of next month's meditation or show is we're doing Sometimes We Must Choose. For many people on the spiritual path, our higher guidance has put several life path choices before us. We are ready to use our intuition and intention to choose the life path that offers the highest experience that allows us to grow spiritually. And the quote is, just as cake naturally bakes in a hot oven, we naturally grow in a high-energy spiritual environment. So basically, the talk we're going to be talking about next month is sometimes we're ready. We have all these different things in front of us, and we just need to choose something. We need to just know that we're picking the right choice and move on with our life and our spiritual path. So again, thank you all for listening, and we hope to be with you next month. And until then, namaste.
Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Blessings and light.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show.